Thank you. Thank you, Jason, for inviting this Jason. And of course, the clicker would be good to have. But thank you. Thank you for also inviting me into your life experience. It's been a long time since I spent 中秋节 with friends in Taiwan, so this is very exciting for me. And I apologize for speaking in English, even though Chinese is my mother tongue. But I'm a little bit more comfortable speaking in English now since I've been living in the States for the last 28 years. Great. So many of you, no doubt, have heard of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So you know about the 99% versus the 1%. At the very ugly core of it, that conversation has become a you versus me. I'm very concerned. Partly, that conversation has a risk of devolving into a French Revolution-like outcome, where the poor really does have nothing to eat but the rich. I'm also concerned for a very self-serving reason. I am part of that 1%. I'm a business owner. I work in the finance industry. And worse yet, I actually teach finance to MBA students in the States who want to go work on Wall Street. It pains me to know that what I do, what I make, what I've saved, things that I thought would be very attractive to girls and their parents, these are now things that pit me against 99% of my fellow men. When I thought about this, I thought maybe I can help reduce that tension. And putting on my economist hat, perhaps if I help people understand that it is quite natural and even desirable in a market-based economy to have income and wealth inequality. If I could help people understand that, maybe I could bridge the gap between the 99% and that 1%. As I was putting together this presentation, my friend came to me and he told me, how dare you, someone who represents a finance fat cat, think that you have any right to justify or rationalize income inequality. Everything you say is biased and self-serving. And I panicked. What I thought could have been my 15 minutes of TED fame could easily turn into a lifetime of internet infamy. What am I to do? So this is my plan. I come to you today not posing as an economist with deep understanding of the economics of inequality, not offering a solution. In fact, I have no interest in even judging inequality to be bad. Instead, I invite you to a conversation with me to explore this topic with a different perspective. So, let's take a look at the very basic statistics about inequality. It's absolutely true. The top 20% owns about 93% of all financial wealth. And when you look at the statistic, you can't but help yourself sympathize with the talk that soon the poor will have nothing to eat but the rich. But then, when you look on the consumption side, the bottom 80%, despite having only 7% of the assets, actually consumes about 70% of the total output. And if we take a look on the income side, what you'll see is a fairly familiar story. The top 20% of the higher earners makes about 15 times more than the bottom 20%. But yet their consumption is roughly about twice as high. So the enormous gap on the income side doesn't quite fully translate into consumption differences. Of course, all of us know that income inequality has grown quite a bit over time, roughly by about 10% per annum over the last many decades. Again, puzzling enough, consumption differentials have not moved up by the same token. So what's going on here? Interesting enough, apparently the wealthy are so in love with money that they spend most of their time making more money instead of consuming. So they're not actually crowding out goods and services for the rest of us. But that's not really the point. After all, consumption is about what we buy. Ultra high net worth might spend $250,000 to buy a Bentley. The average household buys a Camry at 1/10 of the price. I was told that a Birkin bag costs about 1,000 times more than the average fashion bag. Now, I'm not a girl, but I don't think it makes you look 1,000 times sexier. Now, for the men who chuckle in the audience, we men are the worst. This is the latest brigade. It's about 10,000 times more expensive than a normal Timex. And I can assure you, it doesn't make you 10,000 times the man. But it isn't about how much we spend. At the end of the day, it's about happiness. It's about what we buy and the utility that comes what we consume. And oddly enough, the research shows above a certain level, there's almost no difference in the happiness between he who has lots of money and he who does not. Now, this is interesting. If it's not about happiness, if it's not about the consequences of income and wealth inequality, then I'm very confused as an economist. I find it authentic when people say they do believe that the wealthy aren't any happier or more purposeful. And I don't think it's the case that somehow the 1% has so exploited the system and taken everything so that the masses has nothing but to eat the rich. Then what is it? As I take off my hat as an economist and begin to explore and feel these conversations as a human being, I start to understand what is gnawing at our collective soul. It's about unfairness. It's not about what the income buys us. It's actually about what the income tells us about us and another man. We no longer expect the capital market to assign prices to coordinate economic activities. We actually have now outsourced to the market economy to set prices for the worth of a human being. The price on a Birkin bag is no longer about supply and demand. The price of a Birkin bag now tells you the worth of your life and the quality of your experience. No wonder you're angry. You are angry when you see the wage of a school teacher significantly lower than the wage of a banker. You are angry when you see a doctor being paid less than a plastic surgeon. When you look deep inside, when you say that the wage of a school teacher is too low, is unjust, do you really object to the supply and demand of school teachers? Or is there something more fundamental? Is it that you finally realize the hypocrisy? That despite all that you say, deep down in your heart, you judge another man by the zeros in his bank account. That despite everything you try, deep down inside, you cling on to that belief that more money is a better experience. So you sit in those seats and you think naively that if I could only join a protest and give a school teacher a higher salary, then I can give him a better life. The high-income earners are going to try their very best to convince you that they are smarter, they are better, they are mightier because they have a bigger paycheck. But yet, it is us who dignify that shallow expression of a human experience by raging against their paycheck, their Pradas and Mercedes. When you have chosen to engage them on a battlefield defined by dollars, you have already lost. The market system actually needs you to believe that. It needs you to believe that you lack, that you are insufficient, so that you would punch in a 10-hour day and wake up to do it all over again tomorrow. I can share with you the example of John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller literally had more money than God himself. But when he was asked, Mr. Rockefeller, what do you need to be happy? To which he responded, just a little bit more. You can choose to be that. If so, whether you are the rich or if you eat the rich, it would not satisfy your hunger. But there's a different way. You can choose to believe that you have enough, that you have everything you need to experience this human life, to be this wonderful, amazing creature of possibilities, not defined by what you make, by what you spend, by what you have, but defined by who you are and what you're becoming each and every day. And when you choose that, it becomes possible for each of us to relate with each other, not from the 99% versus 1%, but as a whole, complete 100%. I am Jason Su, 我是许仲祥, and I am 100%.